Okay, so this week we are going to, I think we're going to kind of continue on that snowball corner block, but we're going to change it up some. So in talking and reading all the comments, I had a lady mention that she had arthritis and that she couldn't really do a lot of cutting, but she did say she had charm packs and jelly rolls and such as that. I don't have any jelly rolls. I can cut them out of what I have, but I really am trying to work on my stash. But I did have charm packs in my stash. I had 2 Bella Solids by Moda in the black, so that would give me 84 blocks. I only used 31 of these in the quilt. 5-inch squares. That's all you need, it's 5-inch squares. All right, and you could use jelly rolls for the corners, but I didn't have any jelly rolls, so I also used my 5-inch squares. Also, I had 1 pack of Sable and Swan by Catherine Holden, also Moda. Now this had 42 in it. I only used 39. There's 3 here I did not use. I used them, but there was 3 repeats of these, and I just felt it was too much for my quilt and the colors that were in it. It may not be for your quilt and the colors you have, because you may have brighter colors or lighter colors, but this was always making mine very dark. So therefore I wanted to lighten it up a little bit. So what I did was I took my Sable and Swan colors and I divided them, lights and darks. Now, because of the size of the quilt I made, it's 7 wide by 9 long, 5-inch squares. I was short a few squares because I only had these 3 left, and to me they were extremely dark, so I didn't want to use those. So on my own stash, I used 7 5-inch squares from my own stash, 2 lights, which is actually going to be one of the, we're going to call it a star. I don't know, it's a pinwheel star, twisty thing. And then I used 5 mediums, and they're full size, didn't cut them. Also, I used 5 2.5-inch squares out of my own stash just to finish up the edges, because I felt the edges would need to be finished. If you need to cut your own, I am blessed to have this ruler here. It came from Missouri Quilt Store many years ago, and I'm pretty sure it was developed for just doing just this. Okay, so we'll get this out the way, and then I'm going to cut this way, and this will give me 5-inch squares. I don't need this. I'll put this in my scraps. Let's go in a different scrap pile. Now, what I did was I took, one's going to be my center. Then I took the other one and I cut it down the middle into 2.5-inch squares. I cut it in both directions. Okay, so this gives me 4 and 1 center. Now this is the main part of my quilt. So you're going to need a center and 4 squares. And how I did with this was I took and I surrounded, I'm going to get this out the way. We're going to go to the board and look at it, but I just want to give you an idea. I surrounded the center square with plain squares. Can't separate them. There we go. And then I snowballed the corners on one side that match this. The opposite corner will match a different square down here. Okay, so this is the basic setup, and then we'll snowball the corners, and these 4 would be something like this. I only have 3 cut, and that's fine. I just want to give y'all an idea. And there would be one there. Now you could sew this as a block. I just sewed mine in rows because to me that was easier. So let's look at what I'm actually talking about here. Here's a print off. Now this isn't the exact colors I used, but I just want you to see it. So this would represent like the music notes. And there's those 4 tips. Here's the next one. See, the opposite tip would match this one, and so on and so forth, okay? And those extra 5 2.5 inch squares I needed for along this outer edge to finish off the quilt completely. Anyway, guys, it's just that simple. Solid, snowball corner, 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 solid. The only complicated part of this whole pattern is keeping it straight, because you want to make sure that your tips are in the right place along your little pinwheels there that you're making, or stars, or whatever you want to call them. Swirlies, twirly wigs, I don't know. Well, first I put it all up on the design wall the way I wanted it. Then I took a picture with my phone. As I'm sewing, I'm referencing my phone every time I put 2 blocks together to make sure that I am going in the right direction, okay? Now, you may have some of those organizer pins, and that would be great. You may have a different way you organize things, and that would be great. For some reason, no matter how many times I take it off the board a certain way, I always tend to mix it up. I don't know why. I just do. So I have to keep a picture or keep walking it back up to the design wall and reorganize it and then coming back and so on. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what keeps you straight, that's what keeps you straight. At first, I was going to use the Sable and Swan for my snowball corner blocks and use my Bella Solid blocks for the in-between blocks, but I didn't have enough of the Sable and Swan to do this, and I didn't have anything that looked enough like it, so I flipped it, and I think they look more distinct this way anyway. I think they stand out more this way. Plus, it gives you a secondary twirl. You're not really seeing it on here, but on the design wall you will. It's really not complicated. Seriously, it's just 2 blocks. It's just the way you arrange them. And most of them are solid 5 inch squares, nothing done to them anyway. Okay, so this is it all laid out on the board. Now, we're going to start and we're going to look here, top corner. See the block next to it and every other block from then on. It looks like a 4-patch. That is not going to be a 4-patch. We're going to snowball those corners. And the block in the back is solid black. It's the Bella Solid Black Charm Pack blocks. But I wanted mine to be in a certain order. And so this is what I had to do to get it there. Now to sew this quilt, I am just going to sew all the snowball blocks on each row. Taking it one little section at a time, because I need it to be a certain way. And if I don't, I will get it all mixed up. This is all about arrangement with this quilt. I think it's a good scrap quilt. I think it's a good charm pack quilt. Okay, so I have the first 3 snowball blocks from the first row here. Now I made sure to keep them in the order in which I need them. On the first row, you're going to snowball the top right and the bottom left, and on the second row, we'll be sewing the opposite side, the top left and the bottom right. So you really will have to try to keep up with this one. It's not, if you're trying to do it in a certain order. If you're just being all scrappy, then it doesn't matter. So I am going to try to keep up with mine how I want it. I measured these blocks, the peaked line, sheared line, whatever you call that, the little zigzag line there, it does count. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a pin, ooh, that's a big pin, let's use a small pin, on the side that I'm not sewing, and that way I won't forget my next row and how it goes, because sometimes you do manage to get yourself turned around, and I don't want to do that. So I put a pin in all those that I will sew the second round. Now, just like before, I'm going to line up this with the center of my needle, this with the center of the red line here. And I'm just going to sew, but I wasn't thinking, I need to sew right sides together. This one I'm going to turn around because there's a lot of music note type of product up there, so this will be something a little different than music notes. And you know, that's up to you what parts you want it to be sewn. So when I trim this like that, the music notes won't show, and that'll give me something different to look at. Also, just saying, okay, if you have arthritis, there are people in my family that have arthritis really bad in their hands. Some young, some old, some in between. And you can't do a lot of trimming. When I do this trimming here in just a moment, when we trim that back to 1/4 inch, you know, you don't have to trim this out if you don't want to. It'll make your corners a little thick and the quilt police might get mad at you. But if you just can't do all that trimming, then you just can't do all that trimming. And just leave this extra layer in there. It ain't gonna really hurt anything. It's just gonna make your quilt a little thicker on the corners. Now, or just trim out the middle layer with scissors or something. It's not like you gotta use that rotary cutter. Get you a pair of scissors or get somebody in the family to help you get that started. So just remember, right sides together. I have a feeling I'm probably gonna end up ripping some of these out because I will forget to flip something upside down. I want it to be scrappy looking. I just wanted to use the charm packs that I've been having put up for a while. I do have one more charm pack put up, and I have it set to go with a panel quilt. So we'll do that whenever it's time to do that. Let me move this out the way. So now we can do the opposite side. We're not really going to have a hard time figuring out where they go because each one will go back to match its center block. So we'll be okay on that. I'm going to flip this over. I don't know why I didn't say this, but if you don't have the seam tape on your sewing machine, draw yourself a diagonal line from one corner to the next and then sew along the drawn diagonal line. I'm just making assumptions. I'll put a link in a video below to show you how to do that and making snowball corners. This is the most complicated thing we got to do on this entire quilt is snowball these corners. After we do this, it's all just sewing squares to squares and matching the corners. Okay, let me trim this. Now, the next step is going to be to cut this at that 1/4 inch, and y'all know I've showed y'all how to do this, but I'm showing you again. You're just going to lay your ruler down, find your ruler with a nice 1/4 inch line marked, put that 1/4 inch line on the seam line that you just sewed. By the way, I have black in the top and bottom of my sewing machine, and trim a 1/4 inch to the outside of that seam line. You'll be able to see it good on this one because I know a lot of times my thread matches, but here it's matching the black, not the beigey white color, so the off-white. So you can see what we're trimming. And then we're just going to take this to the ironing board, fold this back, press it down, and then I'm going to put all of them back in place. and move on to the next row. Okay, so here's all the blocks laid out in the rows as I need to sew them. So as y'all can see, it's just plain blocks, and every other block is a plain block, and every other block is a snowball block. This top row, they slant, well, the snowballs are this corner and that corner, and the next row is the opposite. Goes back and forth, and you get the little stars, and then you get this secondary spin there with the black, solid black blocks. So far, I think I've spent about an hour and a half sewing it. So I'm just going to start sewing the lines together. Okay, so how I'm putting my rows together is I went to the design wall and I pinned, I took them, they were top to bottom, and I pinned where they come together between the rows. So they were like this on the design wall. I pinned the pin in the direction that I need to sew, and along the seam I need to sew. And I'm just going to sew along this edge on every one, and then I will open them up, and they're in order. I pinned the top one and I flipped the whole pile over as I was pinning, so when I flip it on top, the first one is the first one. That's all I do. That's the best way I can organize it in my mind. Like I said, if I get confused, I'll just bring it back over to the design wall, put it up there, see what's what, and go with it from there. And that's it, guys. We're just going to do some straight stitching here. Nothing matches, okay? So you don't have to worry about any of these matching. They only match on the corners where the 5-inch blocks go together. They don't match anywhere else. So you don't have to worry about these little snowball corners ever matching anything. Only on its tip, not in the middle. And this is the 9th block, so sewing in pairs, we won't have a mate for that. So I'm going to put them back in the order in which I sewed them. Now, this is what I got to remember. I'm sewing between rows. So this goes in this direction. This is the top. So I need to take this one and turn it in this direction. This will be an in between. I can look up on my board and see this will be the tip on that side and this will be the tip on that side. So these two are going in the correct direction. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this together while I know that it is correct. Okay, now let's look at this one. We know that it should go in this direction, right? The 3rd block down is this. And then you should have this. Okay, so it should go like this. Okay, so I know that my numbers were the top, and then that block, this is the middle, and then these blocks. So this is an in between, this block and then this block. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this bottom on here. It doesn't matter which direction it goes. That's one other thing. A lot of these blocks were directional in that charm pack I bought. I did not care. I did not pay them any attention if they were directional. I just sewed them. It may drive you crazy and you may need to do yours in a certain direction, and I get that. But as far as I'm concerned, just so this is at the top, I know this will meet. We should be fine. I just couldn't do it. It's too much organization and thinking, and I like my quilts to be, I like them to be beautiful, but I don't like them to be so complicated that I can't relax when I'm doing it. So okay guys, so this is row 3 all sewn together, and I'm gonna go put this up on the design wall, get my row 4 ready. I'm gonna sew the rest of my vertical rows together. Okay, so this is row 3 and this is row 4. I press this row down. I pressed this row up, and all I'm going to do is put them right sides together, and I'm going to sew, and every time we get to a place where the 5-inch blocks meet, we'll nest those seams, and that'll be everything. So I'm just going to make sure my corners meet at the top. Let's get a couple stitches. And I'm just going to take my time nesting one seam at a time, and all I'm doing is when I nest it, I'm making sure that it feels nested a little ways down, not just on the tip. Once a pin gets through that seam line, the needle goes through that seam line, I move on to the next one and get it nested really before I start sewing. Make sure it's even on the edges. Okay guys, so let's have a little look and see how they look. That one is great. Good. Good. That one came out pretty cool. Okay, that one's good. Trying to open them up here. That one's good. That one could have been a little tighter, but it's not too bad. And that one's perfect. And the last one, it could have been a little tighter, but it's not too bad. I feel like these blocks here, I might cut them a little off, and that's why I'm having trouble with those. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do now, it doesn't matter which direction you press this middle seam. So I'm going to go press it in whichever direction it wants to lay in the most, and then I will finish some of my other sets of rows together, and then I'll come back when it's ready to put the two final pieces together to make the entire quilt. Okay, so this is the final seam, and like we have the 4 on this side, 3 on this, and it's going to be exactly like every other one. We're just going to line it up here. This seam's going up, this seam's going down, and we'll nest it real good. Get the top kind of all lined up there, and we'll get started. And I'm just going to keep sewing. Okay, I think all these are just going to come out just right because it just went together really simple. I guess because really it's just really a kind of a 4-patch. You know, just a simple block quilt. Nothing complicated about it. Okay, guys, so I'm going to get that seam ironed. I'll get it on the board and we will have a look at it finished. Okay, guys, so here it is all finished. I have not added a border yet because I cannot determine what I really like. I like this lighter. But I also like something that looks more like these blocks here, you know. This border here looks like it blends, but to tell you the truth, it's butterflies and birds, and that's just not the feel of this quilt. So I really might not have anything in my stash to go with this. I may have to do a little more digging. But anyway, I've included the link below, and hopefully I did it right, and it's in the video also, of how to do snowball corners and some basic quilting if you don't know how to do basic quilting things. Sorry, I was a little off this week. My little cowboy down here, he hasn't been feeling very well, and I've been kind of concerned about him, so it's kind of taken me away mentally from what I was doing. Anyway, guys, I hope y'all did enjoy doing this quilt. I think for just a plain block and a snowball corner block, it can kind of come out quite unique. I can see this done in an array of colors mentally, and I think it's just fabulous. Something simple. I think this could be really pretty if you did it big. You know, I wish I had another pack of these sable and swan blocks to make it a bigger quilt, because I really, really do like this. I like the tones of it too. So I'm not really sure what next week's quilt's going to be. I got several things I'm working on right now, and I'm not sure which one will pan out and be the one that I go with. But I hope y'all will join me again next week for something hopefully new. And if y'all have any comments, please let me know what your thoughts are on this quilt or any other things that I've been doing. I appreciate y'all subscribing, so if you could continue to like, subscribe, comment, it's wonderful. My subscription is right around 1,900 at the filming of this one, and y'all are making me so excited. It took me a long time to get past 350 people, so I really appreciate you tuning in and watching and taking a minute to subscribe. So until next week, please be careful, stay healthy and strong, and remember to always be yourself. See y'all soon.